Ferguson saw its first night of relative calm in quite some time last night. I know you've spoken to a lot of people there on the ground. Do they feel as though racism is something that's just inherent in the culture of that town?
Yes, that's something I've been hearing all through the week that I've been here. People saying that Michael Brown's death was just a tipping point. It was something that sort of the straw that broke the camel's back. People say they have been stopped by police. They believe they have been basically given harassment by police and various different people here in Ferguson. And people say that they just couldn't take it anymore after Michael Brown was killed.
You know, you heard Toluse say that, Peter, that people are saying that they feel as though they have been singled out. They have been harassed in part because of just the color of their skin. You've looked into this. There's a lot of research that suggests the police are, in fact, doing exactly that.
Well, the Arch City Defenders report that I mentioned was prepared earlier this year before Ferguson made the headlines. And it found that blacks are stopped disproportionately for traffic violations disproportionate to their race. Secondly, when they are stopped, they're twice as likely to be searched as white drivers. And when they are searched, they're only 2/3 as likely for the police to find any contraband on them. But then they go to court. The whites, who tend to be higher income, not always, but can afford a lawyer, they manage to get a moving violation knocked down to a non-moving violation. Blacks come to court without a lawyer and disproportionately end up getting a moving violation, which, of course, costs them points on their license. And they also are more likely to pay a fine, which they cannot afford. And they are more likely to go to jail because they are not paying that fine.
So it's like this spiral downward that is taking on a momentum all on its own.
Right. So you go to these courts in Ferguson. It's a town of only 21,000, but courts are a big part of its operation, and it'll be all black defendants. So there is nothing in there that says they are specifically targeting blacks. Blacks have lower income, and they tend to suffer far more from this behavior. And this is so the Arch City Defenders report named 3 towns. This is, again, before August 9th.
Right.
The report was released after August 9th, and Ferguson was one of those 3 towns.
You know, is there much talk about that report there on the ground in Ferguson, Toluse?
I think people are talking more just about the contents, not necessarily being aware of the report being out, but they definitely confirm what this report has found, which is, they say that they go to court all the time and they see a ton of black people who can get fined and who probably don't have a lawyer, and they believe that's another place where the criminal justice system, in their minds, discriminates against them, as well as the police officers who initially stopped them. I hear that a lot on the streets of Ferguson, and it seems to be backed up in this report.
But this isn't necessarily just specific to Ferguson, Peter.
Well, no, it's not. I mean, clearly we have a national conversation we need to have about race. I think the story, my cover story, tries to look at it both ways. The degree to which it's a national problem. I mean, one way you can look at it is Pew Research Center did a poll of all Americans and asked them about Ferguson. And one of the questions was, do you believe that this is an occasion for having a national conversation about race? 80% of blacks thought so, 44% of whites thought so. They asked, do you think the Ferguson police have overreacted? 2/3 of blacks thought so, 1/3 of whites thought so. So we're looking at things through very different lenses in this country.